Today we're going to look at the addition strategy of compensating. Compensating is a great strategy to use if I'm trying to work with big numbers in my head, because when I compensate, I take those big numbers and I change them into easier numbers to add or subtract. So, to understand how compensating works, we're going to first look at a very simple problem. If I had over here a group of 3 apples, and I wanted to add another pile of 9 apples and find out how many apples that is. If I were going to compensate to make this an easier problem, I'd take this 9, and I know that 9 is very close to 10, which is a very easy number to add. I'm going to take 10, and I need to now add it to something else. But in order to make this 10, I had to take and add an apple to this pile. Well, the only place I could take an apple from is from this pile. So by adding one apple to this pile, I need to take away an apple from this pile and move it to this pile over here with the 9. So when I take one apple away from the 3, I now am left with 2 apples in that pile. So now instead of a pile of 3 apples and a pile of 9 apples, I have a pile of 2 apples and a pile of 10 apples. But I still have all the apples. I haven't taken any of them all the way out of both piles. I've just moved them from one pile to another. And now when I add 2 plus 10, that's very easy. 2 plus 10 is 12. I can check because I know that 3 plus 9 also equals 12. So my answer is correct. So now that we've done that with a simpler problem, let's take a look at how that would work with a problem with 3-digit numbers. Over here we have 347 plus 376. We are going to break these numbers into piles. So we're going to say that we have over here a pile of 347 apples, and we're going to add that to a pile that has 376 apples. Okay. Now I need to change these piles into easier numbers to work with. I noticed that if I added 4 apples to this pile, it would give me 380 apples. That's a much easier number than 376. So I need to add 4 apples to this pile, and that gets me 380 apples. But in order to add to this pile, I need to take those apples from this pile. So I'm going to take away 4 apples from this pile so that I can move them over here. When I take 4 away, I get 343. Now this is a much easier problem, but still, it's a little bit tricky. The great thing about compensating is that I can do it more than once. Over here, I know that 380 is really close to 400, and that's a much easier number to work with than 380. In order to get to 400, I need 20 more apples. But if I add 20 apples to this pile, I need to take them from this pile. So I'm going to take away 20 apples. And when I take away 20 apples from 343, I get 323. Now in the end, all I have to do is change these numbers to 323 plus 400, which I can do in my head, is 723. Remember, when you're compensating, the most important thing is that whatever you do to one side, you have to make sure that you compensate on the other side. If I have 2 piles that I'm putting together, then I can just move apples from one pile to the other pile.